So if this, depending on the outcome of this, if this was to move forward, can I assume that you would be willing, if there was a way with Public Works, to ensure that you were paying the appropriate
Yes.
fee for sewage? Councillor Huffman, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Okay, first off, good job. I know it's nerve-wracking getting up and speaking in front of a bunch of people. So just to clarify a few things, because I know we all hear different things and our minds are starting to go in different, off on different tangents. So the trailer right now, when you're driving down College Street heading west, you're on the left-hand side. The trailer is parallel with your parents' home, correct? The deck is facing the west.
Correct.
That is where you have planted the shrubs.
Correct.
So the people on the corner will have, and I'm assuming they're fast-growing.
They're white cedars,
Okay.
so I'm not sure. Like maybe
All right.
a
Well,
year or
I'll
so.
come by and check to see. I need some. Now the behind to the south is Sovereign Street. The two neighbors who have for the public meeting, they both have privacy fences, right? So when I drove down Sovereign Street, I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding everything correctly. I can just see the top part of the trailer.
Okay.
Now the deck, is the trailer raised to meet the deck?
No, we have the trailer leveled, and
Okay.
then we built the deck. And
Okay.
I have actually the permit and everything here already signed, ready to submit
Okay.
for the deck.
Okay. And have you had no conversation with either of the neighbors who have concerns regarding this?
No, there's
Okay.
nothing.
All right. And you're looking at a 5-year, not an 11-year, and you would consent to connect, since it's connected to municipal services, to paying whatever fee that would be.
Correct.
And in your mom and dad's home, I feel like I'm on a Law and Order show or something. In your mom and dad's home, how many other people live in their home?
Just my parents, and it's
Okay.
approximately 850 square feet.
I was going to
so
say,
it's very small.
it is
There's
a
no
small
basement in that house.
home, and I can understand why, yeah, in terms of, because the first question would be, would you not be able to maybe live with your parents? But I understand privacy and autonomy and
And I'm
things like
45
that.
years.
Independence for your parents. So, okay, thank you.
Just one final question from me here in regards to, the way you put the emails together is great. I can see that the correspondence occurred in February and you purchased the trailer in March. So you would not have purchased the trailer if Norfolk County had not provided you with this assurance that you would be able to live in the trailer.
That is correct. I would not have invested in it.
Now, I just want to, the only part that causes me a little bit of concern here is in terms of the sewage connection, that I just see Fritz's email that says, once you have secured your planning approvals for the garden suite, you will require a building permit to place the trailer on the property. This will include the sewer and water connections.
Yep.
So no permit was obtained, though, for the sewage
No,
connection.
because I know this might be hearsay, but Steve was in the room, and he even said that it's hard to actually put in the permits for that if the trailer is not classified as a garden suite residence. It was kind of a whole horse in front of the cart kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. Well,
But
thank
I
you
am more than willing to
to
fulfill.
rectify the
Yes.
situation. Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next I would like to invite anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application to come forward to the podium. Again, please be sure to state your name, full name, and address for council. Okay, is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak in general or in opposition? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, I thought there's a lot of people here. Sure.
Great. So I guess I'm the only one. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Brunning. I live at 81 College Street West with my fiancé, Rudy Hogg, and our daughter, Charlie Ann. We've lived there for about 5 years, although I grew up in the area and so did Rudy. The reason I decided to come tonight to speak, even though I'm a little nervous, is not because I wanted to make more trouble in the neighborhood, but all of a sudden on Friday, my hubby Rudy got a text from his lifelong friend, Kevin, saying, "Hey, do you know Rhonda across the street? She's just received an email this afternoon saying there's a council meeting on Tuesday and she's maybe looking at eviction." And I knew right away that he was talking about the mobile home across the street that I saw go up during the summertime in the warmer months. And we also received the notice from the county stating that she had applied for an amendment to the bylaw regarding a garden suite, which is normally only allowed in an agricultural or rural area or an area designated as a hamlet. And when I saw that there was a comment section, we both thought, well, you don't really have to do that unless you have a problem with the idea, and so we didn't. On Friday, what Kevin said to Rudy is, if you don't have a problem with it, could you please send an email in support? It may not be too late to help the situation. And so we did that, and neither of us knew Rhonda personally, except to acknowledge each other with a smile and a wave because we saw each other all the time. And so I decided to ask for Rhonda's number and go over and meet her and ask about the situation. I sent an email from both Rudy and I, who is still at work and couldn't be here tonight, saying that we didn't see any problem with it, and we were surprised to learn that very soon she might have to leave. I had heard from my neighbor, Susan and Paul Cullimore next door, that the elderly folks that lived there were making a space beside their home for their daughter to stay near them. And I couldn't hook my printer up before I came, so I'm a little bit lost for words, but I will sum this up by saying that I met Rhonda personally for the first time on Friday night after I heard about this. And of course I asked her, what is the problem? I didn't think there was a problem because the place really looks nice. It's very close to me when I'm out in the front yard and in the garden, and it's right beside their house, and it blends in, and their property always looks nice, and their grass is always cut, and they have nice gardens and really nice crabapple trees. But anyways, so then I realized, after kind of going through everything that she had received just at 4 o'clock that day in an email, that that there were some people in the neighborhood who were in opposition to her being there and didn't want her to continue being there, and that the planning department was about to had looked over and they were going to recommend that the application be refused. And so basically I felt terrible about this because this poor woman was planning with her family to try to make a solution for everyone to be cared for. And she crossed her T's and she dotted her I's, and she contacted the county and said, "Can I do this?" And when they came back and said yes, well, off they went with her decision to go ahead and spend a lot of money on a trailer. It's actually very cool inside. Everything's miniature and it's very interesting. And I thought, well, if the proper information had been given to her from the start, then we wouldn't have these hard feelings in the neighborhood, because it would have been back to the drawing board with her and her family. She could have maybe said, well, maybe I'll take this $40,000 and we can look at an addition on Mom and Dad's house instead of going ahead with Plan A. So I thought that, unfortunately, whoever sent that email that said, go ahead, there are no permits required, made a mistake, and it's turned into a really big mistake for this family. So I think that's all I'd like to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. First of all, I just want to say thanks for coming. I mean, what an amazing neighborly story to hear that, and especially with not having a previous relationship and so on. I think that's an awesome thing to do.
Thanks.
So I'll open up the floor to the counselors if you have any questions. Okay, I guess you are good to go back. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application?
My name's Catherine Postel. I live at 1289 7th Concession Road, Waterford. I've been in Waterford all my life. I've grown up here. I've known the Smith family, oh God, I don't know how long. I just like to say that I give kudos to Rhonda for the job that she's doing in order to keep her parents at home so that they are a little bit, so they are more self-sufficient by themselves and that sort of stuff. I wish that there was more people that would take that into consideration instead of just throwing them and putting them into homes. But, I mean, Rhonda has done something that is very thought out and very methodical. She does not throw things away on a whim. She never has. Never has. So I just like to say that I'm in favor of everything that she has done and very proud of her and everything that she's doing for her family.
My name is Rhonda Franks. I am living currently, I have been living for a while at 813-600 Baseline Road near Burgessville. Excuse me. I've known Rhonda since 9th grade. We grew up together basically through high school and have maintained our friendship throughout that time. I've been, involved in various ways with her and her family, and I've known her parents just as long. Even called them Mom and Dad. I'm sorry. I'm going to be really emotional because that's what I do. I'm an artist. That's what I do. Okay. I just wanted to speak really and truly to the validity of her reasoning for coming and doing what she's done to help allow her parents to maintain their independence. I have been through what she is looking to go through. With the illness of my mother and her subsequent passing due to the complications of cancer. I lived 45 minutes away from where my parents lived, and it was a definite struggle to be there for them when they needed it. I would drive at least an hour to go to appointments with my mother during her treatment for cancer, twice. I would go almost daily to her house from my place, 45 minutes away at least, to help her with her daily needs while she was recovering from her surgeries after colon cancer and before her eventual death from uterine cancer. I recently, which left my father alone in the house where I had lived for the last 20 years for several years before I moved out. My father was aging and he was ill, and I ended up going home in March to find him dying on the floor. I was 45 minutes away. Had I been able to be closer, or had someone been closer, it would have hopefully allowed him the ability to have maybe stayed on his own. Unfortunately, he has been debilitated to the point he now needs constant care and to be in a home. So, with our population aging as it is, and all of us aging as we are, I would hope that new ideas and solutions would be available and utilized so that all of us can stay in our homes longer and maintain our sense of self, rather than having to give that up because someone in the neighborhood just doesn't like it. I'm hoping, I really can't speak to it as I don't live in the county anymore, but I've been there and I really believe that she is doing this out of the goodness of her heart and because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Thank you very much for coming. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application?
My name's Darren Chamberlain. I've lived in Waterford all my life. We moved there in 1955, and even being there that long, I still feel we'd be the newbie family in town. My sister needs a lot of help. I go over there to cut their lawn every summer. I look after the place as much as I can. It's nice to have my niece there to help me out, maintain the place, maintain the property. We are considering to fix up the inside of the house now. She's there to help me. She's there to help them. I'm there to help as many people as I can. That's what I do. I help people in the town. My neighbors need help. I help them. I cut the grass. I've noticed that lately when I go over there, I call it a wall. It's not a fence. You can't see over it. These two neighbors, they're walled off from the community. They're not part of the community. They're not part of my town. You can pick up those houses, put them in Hamilton, and they'll disappear, and you won't see them again. Right now, they're so out of place in that neighborhood. Most of the houses in the neighborhood are about 1,000 square foot houses. They're really small. They're on lots that are 8,000 square foot lots. The houses that these people are living in are about 3,000 square feet on a 4,000 square foot lot. They're the ones that are bringing down the price of the places in the community. I go there to cut the lawn. I've noticed lately, every summer, somebody from on the other side of that fence, the wall, I call it, comes around and sprays some chemical on my sister's lawn to kill all the grass 3 feet from that fence. I'm just wondering if they would like me to go over on their side of that wall and spray and kill the grass on their side of the wall. The property is beautiful. I've been approached by one of them over there that they want to buy a lot off my sister. It's a beautiful property. It's not fenced in. With the trailer there, it's still a beautiful property. Wide open, no fences. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you could just state your address for the clerk.
I live at 76 Washington Street, Waterford, Ontario. I used to live at 206 Wellington Street, Waterford, Ontario was my home.
Thank you. And councilors, any questions? Thank you. You can have a seat. Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to speak in favor?
Okay, good evening. My name is Deborah Kalababa. I live at 576 Concession 6, Waterford, Ontario. And I am a very emotional speaker, so bear with me. For those of you who don't know me, I come from a family of 7 siblings, and I happen to be in the middle. So I am the caregiver when somebody needs me. We have a 95-year-old mother who depends on the care. She lives in the Golden Pond. I have always been the planner of the family get-togethers, and in time of need, I am always there. They can rely on me. My home is an open door. And one time they need to be somewhere, they can always come to my home. Carolyn has been a caregiver for her husband, and she is my sister for a lot of years. Ron suffers from a few disabling diseases. My sister had to retire from work early to stay at home and care for her husband, who every day gets worse and depends on Carolyn more and more. Today, my sister now is suffering from disabling elements that is quite concerning to all of us. It gives me comfort in knowing that Rhonda is there. I realize she works through the day, but at nighttime, that's the time when bad things happen, is at night. And she's right there to be able to go and help my sister when she needs it. It's one less thing that I have to lay awake at night thinking about, because I do, as most women do. We always are thinking and stressing over things. Waterford is a really nice community to live in, and our neighborhoods should be where we bond and help each other. That's how my family and my parents have always taught us. We care about each other. And hopefully, out of all of this, the neighborhood can once again be a caring neighborhood for my sister. So thank you, Rhonda, for doing what you're doing. Thank you. Oh, you guys are going to ask questions.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? I think you're safe to return to your seat.
I'm going to hit the off button. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the application? No? Okay. At this time, I would like to invite anyone that would like to speak just in general or in opposition to the application to come forward. Going.
Good evening. And in regards to the gentleman that said the neighbor with the big fence,
I'm sorry, can I just get you to state your name and your address for the
my name is Leonard Arthur Ellens, and I live at 101 Sovereign Street.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
I moved in 5 years ago. I had the house built. I moved in, put up a 6-foot fence, as did the neighbor that lives next door. In regards to spraying the lawn, which has nothing to do with this, I try to keep the weeds down at the back of my fence, which faces on the north side, as well as the neighbor that lives next door to me. I do his as well. Now, in regards to the trailer, I originally called in and put in a complaint in May when it first went in. I got no response from the bylaw, and only after the second and third time did they come out in August, and that was after it was 3 or 4 wells that were drilled. They dug into the existing sewer system that's there, and I do believe that there was no permits issued for any of the work. And I think it's an eyesore, and there is a bylaw in regards to it. It doesn't fall within the definition, from what I understand. And I guess I have a couple of questions. If it is okayed and passed and they change the bylaw, what's stopping them from putting 2 or 3 more in on the lot and making it a trailer park? And then it is opened up to the rest of Waterford. And like I say, I'm just dead against it from
just the way the council
get-go.
meeting works. You unfortunately don't get to ask the questions. However, you can ask the questions, and if one of the councilors chooses afterwards, once you take your seat, to direct those questions to staff, they can choose. So kind of put forward your questions now so that they hear them, and if they decide to bring that forward to staff, they can do so.
Okay, like I say, I'm dead against it, plain and simple.
But ask your questions that you have, that you want them, so what's stopping them in the future? And
If the bylaw is changed and passed and everything else, what's stopping them from putting 2 or 3 more in and renting them out? I guess that's one big concern, because you can see it out my backyard, even though I have a 6-foot privacy fence out there, because it's a lot taller than 6 feet. So I guess that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, questions? Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor Chop, to the speaker. Okay. Hi, I'm your councillor for Ward 7. Oh, direct.
You're on.
Through the chair to the, who am I directing them to?
To the speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I drove down your street and I did see that you can see a little bit from Sovereign to the back.
Come out into my backyard anytime. You're more than welcome.
But I guess my question would be, if no one was living there and they decided to just park their trailer there, you would still see it, correct?
Oh, yes, whether you're living or not.
Okay.
It originally was on the east side of their house in their driveway.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to confirm as well, you didn't have any conversation with the property owners or anything prior to? This has all just been done through
They just
the channels?
did it, and I never spoke to anybody.
No, I mean, you haven't spoken to the neighbors, there wasn't any kind of neighbor, because it appears that there were some neighbors that were talking to each other before.
No, I haven't spoken to anybody.
Okay. Now, in regards to the letter here that you've written, you've been there since 2014, correct?
It'll be 5 years, the 1st of March.
Okay. Where did you come from? Where'd you move from?
I lived on the Cox Road for 25 years before that, just outside of Water.
Okay, I can pretty much guarantee that there is not going to be a trailer park atmosphere. That would be something, obviously, we're talking about this one trailer in terms of a garden suite. Are there, I just wanted to know too, in terms of the squatting piece, what exactly do you mean by that?
Okay, I'm a little hard of hearing, but
Okay, you have down here in your letter, it's allowing a mobile trailer to squat on a property tax-free.
I don't believe she's paying anything.
Okay.
She had somebody come in and dig into the sewer system that was there. I don't think you can do that legally. Maybe I'm wrong. She had people come in and drill more than one point trying to find water.
Okay, so in terms of that, and I mean, I don't have all the, the answers in terms of all the infrastructure pieces with, hooking into existing spots with the septic system, and I know that we do have people here who can answer those questions. But primarily, would it be fair to say that your primary concern is if she hooked up to the septic properly and there were whatever the tax piece is, your issue is you find it to be an eyesore and are concerned that they could possibly put more than one trailer there and have a trailer park.
It's
correct?
definitely an eyesore, and yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Through you to the staff, what would be stopping these individuals from adding additional trailers and turning their property into a trailer park?
Through the mayor to Councilor Martin, that'd be the zoning bylaw. Excuse me. So there would be a maximum of one garden suite permitted per property, should this be approved.
Thank you.
And to clarify one other thing, my house is 1,250 square feet, not 2,000, like that gentleman referred to.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Good evening, Mayor. My name's James McDonald. I live in 99 Sovereign Street, right next to Mr. Ellen's. There's a few problems I have, and I've tried to get the issues with the propane tanks. Basically, the trailer backs up near enough to probably 15 feet or so away from my property. Backs right onto my backyard. But the propane tanks are big propane tanks. And apparently I heard that the fire department says it was okay to have these 250-gallon propane tanks in the suburb area. My main concern about that part was, if anything ever happens to that, there's a couple of houses going to go, and mine's is going to be one of them, and probably their own property is going to be gone as well if anything ever happens to these propane tanks. They're huge. You can see them on the pictures there. Also, I have a raised ranch house, and I've got a deck that basically sees everything in that trailer. And I'm sorry for what they have, the problems with their parents. I really am. And I can see what she's doing. But when I sit in my backyard and I see this trailer, and I moved into this neighbourhood. Waterford's a good place. I stayed in Bryan County for 17 years or so. But we decided to move into Waterford. The areas in Sovereign Street and College Street and Mechanic, a lot of these old homes are getting renovated, and some people are tearing them down and building newer homes. They're not huge homes. I mean, my lot's only 40 feet by 60 feet long. As I say, my house is only probably the same size as Mr. Ellen's here. But the fact is, the place is starting to build up and starting to look good. You need the roads done in the area. It's not a big issue. Neighbours are great people in the area. They are. But when I didn't buy my house to have a trailer pulled up behind me. I mean, I paid a lot of money for this place. Pay my taxes. I mean, some people don't pay taxes. I mean, but I do. And we look after, we're good people. People are lots and good standards with the county. But I didn't move to Waterford to have a trailer pulled in my backyard. And I think a lot of people in this place would have something to say if it happened to them. And I know a lot of people are going to say, no, I wouldn't bother with that. I know every person in this place would have a problem. So if it happens on this lot, it's going to snowball to every person that's in Waterford or in College Street or Sovereign Street. They can put a garden suite on their property and come up with some excuse. And I really feel sorry for these people because the parents are very ill. But I don't agree with what's happening with this. As I say, with the propane tanks, I tried to call the fire department 4 times. Never got back to me once. I heard it through the grapevine that it was legal to have these big propanes, probably maybe 30 feet or so, 40 feet away from my house. I mean, it's like, and then, I mean, they done what they had to do. They were digging into the sewers. The propane, the hydro was even hooked up at one point, apparently. I mean, to the house. And digging for the water well, they dug out a few spots to find it. They weren't going for the one spot. They had to find water for the place. I mean, but I'm against the thing, and I know, I'm sorry to say it again, but if it was your guys, your backyards, would you like to have it? I mean, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from any of the councilors? I just have one. Would you feel differently if the trailer was parked there, as kind of Councillor Huffman has been kind of getting to?
No, I would still feel the same way.
So if a resident, but you've heard, has the authority and the ability to park a trailer in their
Yeah, but I would
driveway.
still have an issue with it because, they say, I bought a brand new home. Not to have a trailer in my backyard or somebody else's backyard. Yeah, I would have an issue.
Okay.
Of course I would. I would say something. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question to staff to follow up on your point. Earlier you were asked whether it's okay to park your trailer in your side yard. Are you allowed to store a trailer in the side yard in the urban area for the winter?
Through Mayor Chop to Councillor Van Passen, our zoning bylaw 4.5C just outlines that recreational vehicles, including trailers and vehicles that do not have a current license plate, shall not be permitted from parking continuously in any required front yard or required exterior side yard.
So as long as it's got a license plate, then it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in general or in opposition?
Thank you. My name is Carolyn Smith, and I reside at 92 College Street, West Waterford. I just want to say thank you for letting us take the time to explain why we wanted the trailer. And if Mr. McDonald doesn't really like looking at it, we can put the cedar hedge along that way too, if it would help at all with him putting up with the trailer, if we could block that part. And I just find it so hard to believe that nobody could come to our house and knock on the door to ask why, you know? And if Rhonda hadn't received that letter in February, things would have been done a whole lot different and we would not be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from any of the councillors? Thank you. Anyone further? Going once, going twice? Okay, any questions from councillors to staff or further discussion on the matter at this time? I guess I have a couple of questions. First of all, seeing these emails, I believe that from what I'm seeing, there certainly is a responsibility on the part of Norfolk County. Have you had a chance to review the emails that were provided where a question was directly asked whether or not she could park the trailer on the property and live in the trailer?
To you, Mayor Chop, I've personally not seen the emails, although I have heard of the emails. Our clerk may also be able to help answer that question. I believe there was some miscommunication between divisions in the county, and I'll let the clerk speak to the rest.
Through you, I'm aware of that the emails, I haven't read them myself, but I was kind of brought up to speed, and I certainly am not questioning the fact that it did exist, that one of my staff members, former staff members, she now works for the clerk's office in Brantford, and she was an exceptional staff member here, did provide incorrect advice, and that's one of the things that is challenging for us, because I always advise my staff that it's better to wait for the correct expert to provide advice, because there's always a great deal of liability, and especially we never want to give anybody the wrong advice. There's sometimes pressure to provide quick responses, and it looks like that might have been what happened in this case, but either way, one of the staff underneath me did provide poor advice.
I don't know if it looks like, I think it did happen. I can see right here. Good afternoon, Rhonda. I have confirmed with planning staff that you do not need a permit to park a recreational vehicle at your parents' place. And so I can understand that could be interpreted different ways, but she took the time to write back and say thank you for your reply, but I do want to double check and not poke the bear, but I will be staying in it while taking care of my parents. Does that still mean that no permit is required? No permits are required, just the basic vehicle license. I mean, to see that in February and then see a bill of sale in March, I mean, you have to understand that a person has relied on that advice from Norfolk County and then gone and taken subsequent actions on that basis. The other issue I am concerned about is an email from Mr. Enslin that speaks to, once you have secured your planning approvals for the garden suite, you will require a building permit. This was the end of August. to place the trailer on your property, this will include the sewer and water connections. My report from the planning staff department speaks to that we can't have, per the bylaw, I actually had Maureen print a copy of the bylaw for the sewer this afternoon, and I can't find that specific wording where it states that you can't have two connections on your property. It's just, I have it in front of me, if maybe you could direct me to the right line. Maybe I don't have the right bylaw that could.
To Mayor, in response, there were comments provided from the Development Engineering Department on page 2 of the report, which do speak to the number of connections available at properties.
I understand, I read the comments, but I want to see it in the bylaw, so could you direct me where in the bylaw that's located?
To you, Mayor Chop, planning staff can't identify where in the bylaw, but I can definitely have development and engineering provide that information to you.
Okay, I'm concerned, I mean, it's mentioned a couple times, so it's something, Mr. Barrett, do you have any? I have a couple here if somebody wanted to go through them after. There's a chart on page 6 and page 7 of the report, and there's a couple of issues that I have with this. On page 7, 5.3.3.2, number 7, the site can accommodate, these are the requirements for a garden suite to be issued. The site can accommodate a potable water supply and be serviced by an on-site wastewater disposal system and installed as per the Ontario Building Code. Planning staff said no. And the reasoning beside it says properties in urban areas must be connected to municipal water and wastewater services where they exist. The proposed garden suite would require connection to the municipal wastewater line on College Street West, which is not recommended as the garden suite is temporary in nature and only one municipal set of connections per property. I'm sorry, that wasn't the one I wanted to read you. There was an issue concerning the water. Was there not in the chart? In the fact that they couldn't hook up to the water? Was that not articulated somewhere?
To the Mayor, respectfully, I don't believe so, as the property is serviced by a well.
Okay, my apologies, and that goes to speak to what I was just talking about. The other final point is just on page 91. It says the applicants are applying for a temporary use zoning bylaw amendment to permit the existing occupied trailer as a garden suite. The proposed garden suite does not conform to the Norfolk County official plan policies, and as such, planning staff recommend that the subject application be refused. For myself, again, I know I harp on this all the time, but again, the official plan case law has held that is meant to be a broad policy document and not actually intended to regulate land use in any way. So for me, that would not be a basis to reject this application based on Norfolk County's official plan. The other question I have for Mr. Baird would be, how do we charge people that are on, I know this isn't the only situation where we have people on water wells and they're on municipal sewage. So not just in terms of this application, but also in a learning for the new councillors, could you just kind of let us know how people are charged for sewage when it's not billed proportional to the water?
Sure, absolutely, Madam Mayor. So there's not many examples of connections that are in an urban area where water is available. There'd be a few exceptions, but generally you're provided water and it's metered, and your water and sewer charges are all based upon a base charge and a consumption charge. So that's how we would determine, it's all there, it's volumetric, how much water you use, and that would be used to calculate the wastewater. So in this particular example, they have a private well that's providing water to the unit, and it was indicated that they are connected to the wastewater system. So technically, we would have no way we're treating that wastewater at no cost. So subject to council's decision tonight, we're glad to sit down and see, as the applicant had indicated, they would be most definitely interested in having a proper connection and contributing the appropriate fee.
Okay, I know this isn't an isolated case, though, and perhaps the property owner I might ask to come back if they would be able to speak to their municipal water and waste bill. I am 99.9% certain that there are other homes that are on well water, but are connected into the municipal sewage line. And to my knowledge, there is also a bylaw that requires them, which I'm not sure I agree with the bylaw, to pay for the flat rate for the water portion as well, despite the fact that they aren't connected to the sewage line. So I'm just wondering, in those particular, I understand normally it's based on how much water you use, that's how much sewage, I think we all know that. But in these types of situations, are you aware of how the billing works for people that are on well water but are tied into the sewage line?
I understand the question. I couldn't come up with that list. I'd have to speak with our staff and get an idea of the billing cases. There are many people that have their own well on their property that they use for irrigation purposes or maybe filling a swimming pool. Ideally, they're not cross-connected into the system. That is a problem. But I could look at, if there are, as you said, Madam Mayor, there may be some examples that are active that way and what that calculation is so that they can fairly contribute to the wastewater treatment side. We would certainly apply those same principles to this applicant.
Mr. Johnson, would I be able to direct that question to you? Are you aware of how that billing works for people that are on municipal water wells but are connected into municipal sewage?
To Mayor Chop, I'm not familiar with Norfolk County's setup. We'd have to look into that. However, other municipalities that I've worked at, if you are on a well or you're receiving your water in a cistern or something along those lines, but you are connected to a municipal wastewater system, then we would charge you the flat rate for the wastewater portion.
Okay. I don't know if everybody remembered, but in the rate budget, and I said, don't forget this. And this was this very same question, actually, a few days ago. So if we could look into that, because this isn't an issue that's only applying today, but there's others. Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Through you to staff, I just want to reiterate that I've also received numerous phone calls about individuals who have their private wells and the inequities for neighbors who are paying sewage and water and vice versa. So I think there is a bigger issue out there that we can discuss at a future time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, would somebody like to put a motion forward or to move the recommendation of staff? Councillor Huffman.
Okay, I've never done this.
Oh,
I've never
sorry,
done an official
I think I had to close the public meeting
motion.
portion.
Yes.
My apologies. Just came to me. May I have a verbal motion to close the public meeting? Any mover, Councillor Geisen, seconder, Councillor Columbus. All in favor? And that's been carried. Councillor Huffman.
All right, so you'll need to assist me. I just say what I want to say?
Oftentimes what happens here is if you want a refusal, you'll just say I want refusal or staff's recommendation, or if you want approval, you could just say you want approval.
Okay, so I would like to put a motion forward that we refuse council or staff's recommendation.
It's like a double negative.
Yeah,
sorry. Was that a double negative there?
You want to approve the application?
Yes, thank you. I thought you meant in terms of the staff report. I apologize for that. I was in a different way. There we go.
Okay, do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Geisens. Any discussions? All hands went up at once. I'm going to go with Councillor Columbus.
Yes, the question I have is, we're looking at an 11-year term for the granny flat. Would this still be called a granny suite application? I got that garden suite. Used to be Granny one time.
To the mayor, yes.
It would still be a garden suite application?
Yep.
Okay, and does it have to be 11 years? The lady said 5 years would work. Does it have to be 11 years?
Through the mayor to Councillor Columbus, no council can choose any length of time they like. Those are the policies of the official plan are 11 years.
Okay, so we need to change the official plan policy?
Through the mayor to Councillor Columbus, no, you can just give staff direction and it can be part of the resolution.
Okay, so I'd like to ask the mover if she'd be amicable to a 5-year period of time for use of the garden suite.
Councillor Huffman?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Columbus, yes, actually I should have added that the first with my motion because they had originally, the applicant had asked about it just being 5 years. So yes, I'd like to make an amendment then to my motion that it be for a 5-year term.
And just a question to staff, they would still be able to renew that then if they needed to?
That is correct. They could renew it up to 20 years.
Okay. Any further questions? Councillor Kravitz, my apologies.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. That was my question exactly, was that we would have an ability for future council if there were asterisks, any hardships endured by having this garden suite on the property. There would be an ability potentially for that to come back, I believe, to this council for ratification. So I think that's in the best interest that we don't necessarily put this out of the realm of possibility, that there would be further discussion. And I think that 5 years, as the applicant has indicated, would be acceptable, seems to be the number that we should be working with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kravitz. Councillor Martin? No? Okay, I would just like to pass the chair to Councillor Martin and just make an amendment also to the motion that would include, and the clerk, perhaps you can help me with the wording, that we work with the Public Works, or maybe it's not even Public Works, their Water and Waste Billing Department to determine a suitable billing plan.
Is that water and waste billing done in-house or is it external now?
Through the mayor, we do have an external billing billing company, but we would set the rate administratively, so we'd be pleased to do that, Madam Mayor.
If everybody would be amenable, perhaps I could work with Mr. Johnson on determining how that rate structure is working.
We have, in the bylaw, we have a flat rate, and it's based on 20 cubic meters of use, and that's what we typically charge when we can't have a meter, and that is in the bylaw.
Okay. Are you, I'll take the chair back if that's okay, Councillor Martin. Are you amenable to the amendment?
Yes.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm assuming that's also, like, they still need the building permits, all those other administrative requirements before this is officially approved.
I believe that will come through with, once the application is approved, they will get their permits for the trailer and so on and so on.
It's the chicken and the egg, right? They can't apply for it until they get it, and they can't get it until they have it.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. I just want to say thanks to everybody for coming. I think it's a wonderful kind of show of support on behalf of your community. I do just want to make a point now that, you know, if you are building decks and you are doing things to go along with the trailer, that you do need to go through the proper steps and receive the permit applications and so on to go with that. So, okay, thank you. Okay, next we have a staff report, DCS 19-08. An application has been received to permit the establishment of a new second dwelling on the subject lands. The existing second dwelling will be demolished and a new one will be constructed elsewhere on the property. Douglas and Roger Poss have put forward the application affecting the lands described as 827 and 831 Concession 3 Townsend. I'd now like to open the public meeting on staff report 19-08. Ms. Call, I believe it's over to you if you could present your report to council.
Thank you. This is an application proposing to demolish an existing second dwelling on the subject lands and build a new second dwelling elsewhere on the subject lands. The property is designated and zoned agricultural and contains 2 dwellings and a large dairy operation. Staff are of the opinion that this application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, conforms to the official plan, and represents good planning. Dairy operations require constant, round-the-clock attention, and this application will support the agricultural operation by allowing the farmer to better share the workload with his family member who would be moving into the house. Planning staff support this application and recommend that it be approved.
I'm just going to wait till the ruckus calms down. Okay. Any questions of council? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Through you to staff, I wondered if you could speak to rebuilding on the existing footprint. Forgive me, does that quite literally mean on top of the existing without any exemptions or changes made to the blueprint of the original structure?
Through the mayor, yes, they could build on the existing foundation if they weren't making it any larger, like adding another story if it was like a 1-story house, for example. But in this case, since they're demolishing it and they want to relocate it, that's why this application was required.
Any further questions? Is the applicant, Douglas or Roger Poss, or an agent on their behalf in attendance? Sir, if you'd like to come forward.
Yes, I'm Douglas Poss. I live at 831 Concession 3, Wilsonville. I believe Pam has had to excuse herself because she's a next-door neighbor and also the daughter of my first cousin, so that's the reason she's left. We're a long-term dairy operation. I can trace my history back to 1803. 2.5 years ago, we put up a new dairy barn, robotic. Brother and I have ran the old dairy barn for a number of years, trying to step back a bit. I live in the old farmhouse, not the one that's going to be demolished. Twofold reason to build this new home. My son and son-in-law are taking over the farm. Son lives next door on an adjacent property, which is very handy. My son-in-law lives here in Simcoe, across from Rona. Travels back and forth daily, sometimes due to family situations, twice a day, depending. So we need to have him closer. Dairy farm needs constant work. Let's just say we're one of, I think, less than 14 dairy farms in Ontario, in Norfolk County right now. When I started, I think there was like 80. We're down to like 13 dairy farms. So it's something we want to maintain. I say we go back to 1803. We need the help. This house would be for my son-in-law, daughter, and their 2 kids to move into. So, any questions?
Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report says that you farm 99.4 acres. You must farm more land than that.
Yes, that's the...
Can you tell us how much land do you have and how many cattle do you run?
We milk between 50 and 55 cows. That's all one robot will handle. Dairy farming is very hard to expand right now with quota situations. So, but we're working between 400 and 500 acres total.
Thank you for that.
Is there anyone, oh, sorry, sir, I guess you can have a seat if there's no further questions.
Thank you. Especially thank you for the council hearing this application, especially the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone else that would like to speak against the application or just in general? Okay, anything Any further questions from council?
Thank you, Mayor Chop. Through you to staff, I'm wondering if we can chat about